Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the subject Culture of England. I am Tursunov Maxmudovoch, Associate Professor of English Linguistics Department, Foreign Languages Faculty. Today we are going to have next lecture on Culture of England. Before announcing you the theme of today's lecture, I would like to ask you several questions related to today's theme. What is science in general? How important is science for humanity? How did science change life and society of human beings? What greatest scientists do you know? What was the most important invention or discovery of humanity up to this time, and why? Have you ever heard of any failed invention that didn't bring any fame to science? You may make a pause of this video and then try to answer them using your critical thinking ability. But probable answers will be given by me here. Science is a big part of life which is responsible for new inventions and for new discoveries. It is very important for humanity because every development, every progress is based on science. Science has always changed society and life of human being because every progress and development of human being is based on different inventions and discoveries. Our lives would never be so beautiful and comfortable if there was no development of science. There are many great scientists in the world, including Isaac Newton, William Harvey, Francis Bacon, and what comes to Central Asian scientists, we can say that Uzbekistan is very rich in great scientists who are admitted by world science, including Ibn Sina, Al-Khwarizmi, and other greatest people. Probably the most important and the most essential invention or discovery of humanity up to this time was invention of car, because it pushed humanity into new pace of development. People started having better development, faster development with the invention of cars and other technological units. Probably invention of plane was also another greatest invention, or electricity. So each scientific invention or discovery plays a crucial role in forming and development of a society and life of people. Yet there were several failed inventions, including some apparatus which didn't bring any successful fame or result, or it didn't help people to develop. We can mention several of them, including wings of human beings. Some scientists invented wings with the help of which people would have been thought to fly, but it was a failure, a greatest failure, because no human being can be able to fly. Students now pay attention to these photos, which should lead you to new ideas. You should use your critical thinking abilities. So try to find out what invention is based on these scenes, on these photos. Pay attention. You may make a pause again and try to ponder over these photos by trying to understand what invention it is hinting at. So I will give you some information that it is related to some medical invention which pushed to development of medicine. So later in our lecture, you will understand. You will come up with the right answer. Now another photo which should hint use something related to English science students. It is a apple tree, and it is a clue to you which should lead you to the correct answer. Now, this is not a clue exact invention. It is probably one of the most essential inventions for humanity. So it is glass, with the help of which we can see small objects as large ones. One of the most crucial inventions in the history of humanity. So, as you probably understood, students, today we're going to speak and discuss scientific achievements of England in the late Middle Ages. Today we are discussing science with you, but an interesting thing for you to use your critical thinking abilities. So, first plan is a revolution in thought in England at the end of the 17th century. We will discuss the term revolution in thought, what we mean by this term, the Royal Society and the Stuart Age and its contribution to the development of science. And in the third plan, we're going to discuss greatest discoveries in science, medicine and philosophy. And all these terms are related to English discovery, invention, and generally English science. Students again try to ponder over the following question: revolution in thought. So what term is this? Try to find out the key moments here, and I will try to explain you what revolution in thought means. Students, there are a number of, there were probably a number of revolutions in the history of humanity, where some people who did not agree with the system, with one political system, they started a revolution in the form of their disagreement with some people or with some systems. But here, a revolution in thought is something another. It is the process of mind when people start thinking everything from the point of science. Now, at the end of the Middle Ages, people started thinking revolutionary. They started to read more than before. Their minds, their brains were based on scientific proof rather than just story or some accepted theory of life. So in England, at the late Middle Ages, the whole population started reading different books. They started paying attention to different inventions and discoveries. They gave birth to new ideas. People became more literate than before. They started paying great attention to knowledge. They understood that without knowledge, without literacy, there cannot be any development or future progress. So that's why a number of books were started to be published in England. Scientists and historians, some other people with great literacy started creating their works. Those opened every opportunity for development and progress of science. That all resulted in revolution in thought. And when we describe the 18th century England again as the continuation of our previous ideas, we can state that England became center of different inventions and discoveries. There were society and science was flourishing, it was blossoming. And England had never had any such progress in science before the 18th century. Yes, Stuarts were ruling a country at that time, and stewards were unlucky rulers from the point of policy, but they gave opportunities to social classes, to science of the country, to create something new. And there appeared one movement which was called Puritanism. The purpose of Puritans was to purify society, religion, policy, every sphere of society and life should be renewed from their point of view. And Puritans wanted to change lives of ordinary people from worse to better side. So Puritanism occurred not only in science, but it happened in literature, in culture, in art. So their targets were to change lives of people, to make them more enlightened, to involve them in science. Finally, Puritans wanted to make society cleaner than before. It was their purpose and first aim. And students, when we speak about late Middle Ages, we remember about Enlightenment. So probably it was the age of Enlightenment in England at the end of the Middle Ages. So what does Enlightenment mean? So the purpose of Enlightenment movement was to enlighten people, to make them literate, to make them knowledgeable, not only high social classes, but low social classes, middle classes should also be knowledgeable. It was the main idea of the period. And that resulted in high, rapidly development of science and the country itself in general. And the Enlightenment period probably saw greatest scientists, greatest writers, greatest people who created their books, who wrote their books. And this period is marked with global changes in science. And this period gave birth to many new ideas and people who had created their works from new point of view. And we should claim that new religious ideas were also born in this period. A new Bible was printed, and not only, as I told you, rich people, but poor people, ordinary people had chances, had opportunities to read Bible in the English language. A printing machine gave this opportunity to ordinary people. When printing machine was brought to England from Germany, so it gave more opportunities for printing out more books, including Bibles. And this also made people become more literate than before. And students, we told you that revolution happened in scientific thinking. Now scientists started telling that every experiment should be tested. Every invention before being released should be experimented, tested, proven. Without proof, without experiment and testing, no invention could be released to public. New articles, new books on mathematics, on philosophy, on geometry, on biology, on medicine were started to be written and printed. And here, students, we should mention about greatest scientist of England, founding father of modern science. It was Isaac Newton. If you remember, at the start of our lesson, there was shown one apple tree. So as the popular story says, Isaac Newton was sitting under the tree, and one tree fell onto his head, and he started thinking why objects fell from the height to the ground. There should be some reason. And after thinking a lot, after doing some scientific experiment, he invented the theory of gravity, which led to other future progress in science. He published his popular books. He created best of his works in the period. And even today, Sir Isaac Newton is considered to be one of the greatest scientists in the history of human being. One of his popular opinions are the following: the best and safest way of philosophy seems to be first to inquire diligently into the properties of things, and to establish those properties by experiences, and then to proceed slowly by hypothesis for the explanation of them. So, ideas of that period where everything should not be taken for granted. Every invention must be based on some experiment and on some analysis. There cannot be any opinion told without being analyzed or without being proved. And the greatest poet of that time, Alexander Pope, once said about Isaac Newton the following: nature and nature's laws lay hid in night. God said, let Newton be, and all was light. The greatest verse showing that Isaac Newton was the founding father of science of that time, which led future developing of other inventions which came into life. Without the proving of theory of law of gravity, there could not be done any other experiment. And as Alexander Pope mentioned, all inventions were hidden. They had not existed until Isaac Newton came into life, and he was born. New ideas, new experiments, new inventions, new discoveries were done. And students, if you remember, at the beginning of our today's lecture, we showed you two photos which was related to medicine. It was William Harvey who discovered circulation of blood. Yes, it was he who drew several scenes to prove that not liver pumps blood to the whole body, but heart does it. Before William Harvey's discovery of medicine wrongly thought that the liver supplies the whole body with blood. But William Harvey proved that heart pumps blood to the whole body, and he proved circulation of blood theory, which also changed medicine in a revolutionary way, and it pushed medicine into new pace of development. Many lives of people were saved with the help of invention of William Harvey. And some words should be told about Sir Christopher Wren, students. He was also given the honorary title Sir because he contributed to the development of English science, English mathematics, English architecture as well. In 1666, when London was covered by the Great Fire of London, when the whole city was destroyed, he, under his leadership, under the leadership of Christopher Wren, London was reconstructed. And one of his masterpieces was St. Paul's Cathedral. And London was restored by the help of Sir Christopher Wren. What we see today in London due to Christopher Wren's hard try to reconstruct London after Great Fire of London. He was not only an architect, but he was also professor at Cambridge University, and he was member of Royal Society. This is a beautiful building which is situated in the center of London, St. Paul's Cathedral, which was also burned during the Great Fire of London and was reconstructed by Sir Christopher Wren. And philosophy also developed in the late Middle Ages, as every scientific invention or discovery is based on philosophy again. Without philosophy, there cannot be born any new idea or new opinion on any science. And Francis Bacon was one of the greatest philosophers of the time. And here I will now tell you two of his quotes. We cannot command nature except by obeying her. Like Francis Bacon claimed that human being, yes, humanity can do a lot in development of science. We can invent, discover many things, but anyway, nature is more powerful than humanity. It was his idea. We should obey it, but invent or discover something new by taking into consideration the fact that nature anyway will dominate over humanity. That was Francis Bacon's popular ideas. And today I would like to finish our today's lecture with popular quote of Francis Bacon, which should push you into better studying students. He said, to read without reflecting is like eating without digesting. Yes, today our government is doing its best to give better and better opportunities for you to study hard, to work at yourselves. And yes, we are reading a lot, but there should be reflection as well. We should ponder over what we have read. We should think over what we have got as concepts. Concepts, ideas should be worked out in our brain and mind. It should be some food to our brain. At that time, we can be able to reflect on something. So that was all for today, students. By your own, you can find more information about scientific achievements of England. Thank you. Goodbye.